Morning, everybody. It is 8:26 a.m. Another little late start today, November 26th. Welcome to my channel. Some movements in the markets again. I just saw. I mean, I can't. I just saw that Israel saying they're hitting sections of Beirut. Um, I just heard some large orders hitting the tape. I can only assume that's oil. Maybe it wasn't, but interesting there. Interesting. And I saw that Trump is really talking about tariffs. We already know he was talking about tariffs, but he's expanding on, I believe, Mexico tariffs, adding an additional 10%, I think, to China. That is sending the dollar higher. Um, so just a lot of interesting stuff going on. Now, I know gold was down earlier, I believe, but this news that I'm pretty sure I just saw from Israel bombing. Let me just make sure here so I'm not making that up. Yeah, I'm just seeing a little headline here. I could even show you guys what I'm looking at here. It says uh, explosion heard in Beirut. Smoke rises over central area of city. Um, and I just saw Israel a headline saying that they're warning, I guess, civilians or something. But yeah, they're bombing. So interesting. That's crazy. Um, that could be why gold is shooting up a little bit. All right. So that's what's going on this morning. So you got tariffs, you got bombings in Beirut. Okay. Yesterday, the spy finally tagged 600, and 600 in the spy was a large gamma level. Okay. And when you're in positive gamma, it's basically like a buy to dip and sell the rip environment. It's less volatile. Um, Now, yesterday's sell off was a little volatile, but generally, the market kind of just stair steps it up when you're in positive gamma. Okay. And we did hit the gamma flip point, not in the SPY, but we did in the Qs briefly, and then it recovered. And that was where we bounced back up. So, a lot of stuff going on. All right. A lot of levels being hit. All right. So, with that little long winded explanation of the morning, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the preceding day. That is my edge. That is the way I look at the markets. All right. That's my roadmap. All right. So, with that being said, I try to do this every day at 8 a.m., which I usually do, but my daughter's nose and throat, there's a lot of stuff I have to do in the morning. She has like asthma, and yeah, so basically, I have to take care of that. Sometimes it takes longer than normal. It's unexpected sometimes. So anyway, hopefully you subscribe and alert. All right, set that up, and of course, if you like my content, and you can give me a thumbs up, smash that like button. Okay. Now, good morning. Good morning. Oh, Pancake, you give me the nicest good mornings and the nicest um, things to say in the chat, and I appreciate that. Um, so yesterday, right? I took a long trade, pretty much from the bottom. So that was a nice trade. I'll be doing a video on that. Um, and I'll tell you why. Now, the reasons I can tell you really shortly why is the gamma flip point was hit in the Qs. Uh, Also, in the NASDAQ futures, we basically held last month's highs, um, and we held the close in the SPY and in the ES futures. Basically, that was my confluence, and then a bunch of major stocks hit support levels. So you'll be seeing a video of that. Hopefully you can watch that, and of course I will post that on my X at Gonzo719, my YouTube Shorts. Of course, always check out my YouTube Shorts and TikTok at Gonzo719 Trader. Okay. Alrighty. Like I said before, hope you guys can subscribe and set an alert. Have a cup of coffee or be at the gym like Pancake. And check out your boy. Listen to your boy, alright? Give you all the lowdown on the market, the story, all that jazz. Alright, all that jazz. And now we can get right into futures and see what's kicking around here. Okay? Also, just real quick, because it was so late yesterday, man, that stunk because I would have had a long, just like I talked about in pre-market, a long right off that pullback in the morning. Oh, that would have been a beautiful trade. But I was still setting up everything, and I'm like, oh my god, that's probably gonna do, and it did. So, but that's just trading. It's whatever. Let's look at what's going on. Let's move the markets here. Silver's up 1.19, crude's up 0.78, gold's up 0.57. Well, I mean, 10-year yield's up again. Nasdaq's up 0.27, ES up 0.23, the dollar's up 0.19, Russell's down 0.30. The Dow is down 0.31. Russell made all-time high yesterday. 30-year bonds being sold. VIX down 0.68. Bitcoin is down 0.25. Ether's down 5.4%. Okay. Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus. Who's leading the pack here? Whoa. Whoa. Eli Lilly. That's the largest holding, or one of the largest holdings in the healthcare sector. Also, actually in the Qs, believe it or not. So, let's get that off there. All right. So that's Eli Lilly. All right, up 5.23%. I do not know why yet. Maybe we'll just see that right now. Why? Let's see. Amgen stock dives despite positive weight loss drug data. What to know? All right. Now we have Nvidia. The Nvidia didn't have the best day yesterday, but they're up 1.44% today. AMD's up 1.34. Broadcom up 1.41. Amazon up 0.37. All right, let's get to the laggards. Google's down 0.07. That's not much of a laggard. Boeing down 0.17. Not much. But then Coinbase with the Bitcoin is falling 3.91%. Okay, moving on to the top sectors. Chevron is getting love. Now that was down earlier. Now, like I said, the bombing in Beirut is probably spurring along this. Okay. Qualcomm. So semis seem to be bouncing today. Up 0.43. Uber up 0.19. All right, let's get to the laggards. Goldman Sachs down 0.35. Johnson & Johnson down 0.80. Now they have a dividend. All right, so that usually comes off the price. All right, so let's see here. Morgan Stanley is down 1.48. So financials taking a hit today. All right. Let's go to the swing trade list. Viking Therapeutics up 9.98%. I believe this is Dick's Sporting Goods. Up 8.77. They had earnings this morning, I believe. Lucid up 1.84, and Texas Instruments up 1.56. So that's what's leading, really. Who's lagging? Ooh. I believe this is Kohl's. Okay, so retail taking a beating, right, with this one particularly. Down 18.32%. Amgen down 11.57%. Zoom down 6.4%. Mara down 4.73%. MicroStrategies down 4.34%. General Motors down 4.2%. Riot down 3.57%. So a lot of Bitcoin crypto-related stocks down. AI down. All right, Burlington. Let's see who else. Bitcoin ETF. That's expected. Ford. I believe this is. I think that's Stellantis. Constellation? I can't remember that one. All right, so Macy's, Nordstrom, some retails down. Donald Trump down 1.63. Block. All right, that's good for that. We'll go back to the top sectors and we'll go to the guts of the market. We should see semis probably leading. Yes, they are up 0.80. Technology 0.42 is driving the market, right? Energy's up. Energy was down yesterday. Now, they were down yesterday because I thought Netanyahu said there was a ceasefire with Hamas. Well, they're apparently bombing Beirut this morning. So, there's no laggard. There's no laggard right now in the sectors. All right? No laggard. Let's move on to the economic calendar. Okay, let's go over to the economic calendar. Let's see here. All right. Okay, so today we got Case Shiller home price at 9 a.m. 10 a.m. you got consumer confidence, new home sales at 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. sometimes I see this doesn't do anything, but sometimes so I'm not gonna really try to enter something at 10 a.m. If I'm in something at 9:40, 9:45, then that's different. And we have FOMC minutes from the FOMC statement, and maybe there's something else we can see in that today at 2 p.m. Hopefully, I'm done by this time anyway. Then we have API crude. That's the calendar. All right, let's look at the earnings because there's a bunch of earnings that came out. So after the close yesterday was Zoom. Who else? It's really it. Really, it's important that I know. Um, Tuesday before the open today, Abercrombie and Fitch, Kohl's, Best Buy, Macy's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Burlington. Okay, that's why I'm seeing those move. Now after the close today, it's Dell, CrowdStrike, Workday, Autodesk, HP, um, Urban Outfitters. Tomorrow before the open, I don't really know any of those companies. And that's really it for the earnings this week. The majority is today with the ones that were important. All right. Moving back, let's see if I can get some more news here. Give me a sec here. Not there. All right. Let's look at some news here. All right. So Kohl's stock slumped 12% after the retailer cut its annual sales forecast for the third time this year, in a sign the department store chain is struggling to draw in shoppers ahead of deal-heavy holiday shopping season. Best Buy stock fell 7.4 after the electronics retailer cut its full-year sales forecast as it missed quarterly and revenue expectations due to softer demand. Yeah, this doesn't sound like the best economy. People aren't buying stuff, right? Dick's Sporting Goods stock rose 6.4 after the retailer raised its full-year guidance after what CEO Lauren Hobart called an excellent back-to-school shopping season and better than expected comparable sales to the third quarter. So Dick's is not doing bad. Ford stock fell 1.8 and General Motors stock dropped 3.8 as investors shunned the auto giants in the wake of Trump's tariffs. See, this is the tariff comments as they have highly integrated supply chains across Mexico. Remember I said that? The U.S. and Canada. Novo Nordisk stock rose 2.2% with the weight loss drug maker benefiting from President Joe Biden proposing expanding coverage of anti-obesity drugs for millions on Medicare and Medicaid. Wow, that's why Eli Lilly is moving up as well. Burlington store stock fell 5.4% after the department store retailer's fourth quarter forecast for earnings and comparable sales growth missed expectations. Now, I heard this about Rumble and Bitcoin, so let's see. Rumble stock rose 3% after the video platform said it will begin allocating a portion of its excess cash reserves to Bitcoin, making purchases of up to $20 million in the cryptocurrency. Intel stock rose 1.2% after the U.S. Commerce Department said it was finalizing a $7.86 billion government subsidy for the tech giant, down from $8.5 billion announced in March after the California-based chipmaker won a separate $3 billion award from the Pentagon. All right, I think that's news. Now, let's look at the risk here. We'll go into the juice now. Traders tempered a relief rally that had buoyed treasuries in global markets earlier this week as Trump threatened additional tariffs and heightened fears about his America First agenda. Trump to impose an additional 10% on China, right? Remember, I talked about that. Now, I believe he's putting a tariff on Canada and Mexico. So let's read further. The Trump tariff threat causes the relief rally to affray. Traders tempered a relief. Just said this. Treasury and U.S. stock. Okay, Trump proposes to levy an additional 10% tax on Chinese imports and a 25% tariff on all items from Mexico and Canada. He stated that the restrictions are required to stop migrants and illegal substances from crossing the U.S. border. So there you go. Okay. Canadian dollar plunged to a 4-year low, while the Mexican peso traded near its lowest level since 2022. So those tariffs are running through currencies right now. Okay. Let's look at upgrades, downgrades. Okay, let's see. What's upgraded today? Charter Communications, upgraded, underperformed to neutral. Chevron, loving it. Neutral to a buy. Love that. Energy, hold to buy. Zoom. Now Zoom's down, but they got a upgrade here to inline to outperform. Let's look at downgrades. American Airlines downgraded, buy to neutral. Goldman Sachs downgraded. Interesting. That's why they're down. Okay. ING downgraded, overweight to equal weight. Morgan Stanley downgraded. So these financials are getting downgraded. Very interesting. Target downgraded as well. Outperformed to neutral. Initiations. Let's check out those. Carnival Cruise Lines is at market perform. Pinterest buy. Royal Caribbean Cruises outperform. So cruise lines getting a little love. All right. Price target changes. Let's check that out. Zoom target raised. Now interesting. Zoom's down, and it's target raised. Zoom target raised. A bunch of Zoom target raises here. Wyndham Hotels and Resorts target raised. Let's see. Marriott target raised. So a bunch of leisure, travel and leisure. Let's see. Travel and leisure. TNL target raised. So that's getting love today. Who else here? Starbucks target raised. Park Hotels and Resorts target raised. So interesting that hotels in the seems like cruise lines getting love. Marvel, it's a semi. Target raised. Let's see here. Marriott target raised. So wow, bunch of hotels getting raised here. Host Hotels and Resorts raised. Hyatt raised. So this is a sympathy theme here. Let's see who else here. Bath and Body Works target raised. Allstate target raised. Now target lowers. Constellation Brands. Okay, Constellation Brands is the target lowered. I believe Constellation Brands is like Corona, the beer. Leslie's target lowered. What else here? All right, that's about it there. I think that does it for news, upgrades, economic calendar. Okay. Let's go to daily charts. Now, yesterday, too, the volume was horrific in the overnight session. Like, horrible. And I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to trade this. But then once it pushed up and hit 600 in SPY, like the volume came right back in when it sold off. And I was like, okay. All right. So, even the volume today is not bad. Okay. Let's look at this together. Look at these daily charts. All right. So, what did we do yesterday? We made all-time highs. 600.86. That was you opened here, pushed up, hit that, sold off, got bought up. Right? But we'll look at the main theme here. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We're trending up. Okay? Trending up. And we opened here, big gap, filled the gap. Okay? So, let's look at last week's range, which would be here. We held above last week's highs. Okay? Where are we at now? 599.05. 599.05, and it's going to be horrible trade location probably. Yeah, we're like in a little higher than the middle of yesterday's session. That's not the best location to be, but it's definitely not bearish. All right, let's look at the live look at futures. Okay, you can see, I don't know if this is Trump's tariffs or what, but there was some selling initially that got bought up. See, you hit the 90-MA daily in futures. This is last week's highs. We're holding above last week's highs. Now, we're not in all-time highs in futures. We didn't make that yesterday. So we can. I'm probably assuming we're going to hit that. And I just saw a stat today that seasonally always this time of year is bullish, but with an election year, it's even more bullish. So it's probably we're just going to go higher through the holiday. But anything can happen, of course. Let's look at the Qs. So the Qs, of course, it's relative weakness here, not at all-time highs, right? So we opened up, pushed up, sold off pretty hard. You didn't break the lows of Friday. Yeah, so held the 90-MA daily here, and you can see we're holding. We didn't actually be closed right at last week's highs. Okay, where are we at now? 508.10, let's call it. Right in the middle of the session of yesterday. So I don't ever like being in the mid, okay, the mid of a session, because it's just going to be choppy. I don't want to get chopped up. That's usually what happens. Like if we open up in this area, usually you do a lot of fake outs, you do some chops, and then you got to find your ground somewhere. Okay, I just don't like being chopped up. So let's look at the futures here. Now you can see in futures, remember I said about last month's highs, look at where the market went down to yesterday. See how it acted as support? That was part of the reason why I went long. Okay, you're getting you hit the 20-day simple moving average and that last month's highs, and you're pushing off. Okay, you can see we got a lot of room up here to move in the NASDAQ. Remember, it's just relatively weak, right? Like Nvidia was weak yesterday. So, that's what's going on in the markets. All right, let's move on to our triple-headed monster here. Look at that 10-year yield. Now, of course, we had a day where it sold a little bit. Right here. Boom, big drop. Now, it's trying to make a little bit of a move. And we're right above the 200-day moving average. So, once this gets cooking, this could definitely fall back to like at least 3.99. We just have to see. Okay, we just have to see. So that's your bond market. Remember, that's the smart money. That is the smart money. Okay, now looking at our dollar. Had a little brain frog there. Our dollar. So the dollar is in a little range. Okay, right here. And I only have a year, so it's at yearly highs, the dollar. Let's expand this time frame to be 5 years. Let's see what puts us. Okay, so you can see this range here. And that's why this level right here is a key resistance. So it's 1, 2, now we're here again. We pushed above it for a sec. So that makes sense why this is resistance, right? Now remember, strong dollar, usually not the best for equities and commodities, okay? So that's your dollar. All right, let's go to that VIX. And it's our fear gauge right now again. Not a lot of fear, folks. We're down to a 14 VIX, 14.53. Not a lot of fear right now. Okay, that's 30 days out of fear. Not a lot of fear. All right, moving on. Let's move on to that main event. You know what that is. That's our market profile, volume profile. And let me position this better here. Alrighty. Now, we're going to look at some structure here. Alright, so if we look at the weekly composite volume profile on the right here, this is our profile. Alright, we got our value area. That's 70% of the trade. Okay. Now, our most traded price of the week is 59.82 right here. Okay. We're starting to get back into ultimate balance. Now, the most traded price of the month, remember I said it yesterday, used to be 60.15. Well, it's back. Okay, so look, we have two major levels, 60.15 and 59.82. This is pretty close to ultimate balance again. Okay, so that just means that the most traded price of the month and the week are aligning again. Right, so big moves come from this. All right, if we keep calling up here, that's just more energy building up to make a big move. Okay, now where's price? Price is right above both of these levels, right? These levels here, and price is right above them. You can see how yesterday in the overnight low held the most traded price of the week. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're holding right above this. Okay, right above this. Now, yesterday, this is what I was talking about. We pretty much opened here, pulled back right here. Remember, I was talking about this level here was the most traded price of the overnight. I said that could act as support, and it did. And it ripped up to here. That would have been a beautiful trade, but I'm setting up my level. So, and it left a trail of single prints. So we have single prints up here, which is emotional buying or selling. Okay, in this case, there was emotional buying, then emotional selling. You can see how thin the volume is here. Now, there is a supply zone that we're still in here. Okay, however, you got single prints right here. So, basically, what are we looking at? Some levels here, 59.82, most traded price of the week, 60.15, the most traded price of the month, right? You basically just want to see the market hold above this level, okay? And as long as it does, finds acceptance, you can clear these single prints and then try to work off this supply, okay? Another, like I said, you really, if you come back down here, yeah, you can get bought again and go up. But we just want to see what it does here, right? Now let's look at some stuff I normally look at. Inventory is not an edge today at all. Okay, now look, this is last week's highs right here, orange. We're holding above that. Okay, we're holding above that. Okay, so all you're seeing right now is bullish structure. It's really all it is. You're seeing bullish structure. Okay. You can see we nipped this demand zone right here in the overnight and got bought up. Whoop. Okay. Got a demand zone here. Okay, so I'm trying to see some nuances here. We do have a poor high here that should get broken. Maybe even gets broken while we're talking here, because that's incomplete. See how this is like flat? That never usually ends like that. It usually gets pushed out. It's probably going to happen right as I'm speaking. You might even hear a large order hit the tape and we push up. All right. All right. So why don't we get right into scenarios here? I don't want to try to get into the market open like I did yesterday. That was not something I like doing. What are you going to do? My daughter's, I have to help her, right? All right. All right. Let's do bull. Let's do bull. Alrighty. So we know we got our levels, right? 59.82 with this demand. 60.15, and you got demand right above it, right below it. Okay, you got this poor high in the overnight. You got single prints up here. Okay, so number one, probably what I'd like to see, okay, would be a push up, right? Or let's scratch that. Here's what I'd like to see. A push up to here maybe, and hold. Even if you did this, as long as you hold 60.15, it's going to coil up to go long, take care of these single prints, and really target. This is a previous weekly high here. That level would be 60.53. Okay, 60.53. So that's number one. Okay, I want to see it hold this. Now again, holding it could dip below it really quickly. But remember, big levels like this, you really want to see acceptance below or above or below, right? So this would not, even if it comes down there briefly, that's not acceptance. If it holds, right? And then you can go up and try to tag it. Now second, what could happen? Push it up, come through this level, then you still got this demand, right? And then you still have last week's highs, and then you could come into this most traded price of the week. Okay, now inside here is chop zone. So I want to see it probably dip into this big demand, and what does it do? Does it hold it? Well, then I'm probably going to go back to here. I know this is messy. That's kind of all I'm looking for. Okay, this market's not bearish. I'm not saying you can't short, but it's definitely not bearish. Let's go to the bear side. All right, now bear side, right? Bear side. What could happen? Now, we know we got this big level here. We know we got supply zone here. And we know we got 59.82 most traded price of the week. So that with those laid out, what do you want to see? All right, let's say we do push up here, hit this supply. Let's say we do this, lower high. Well, I definitely think you're going to revisit 60.15. Okay, and then you have this demand zone here. Now, that might not be easy to get through, but if you do, boom, boom, you're going to revisit 59.82. Now, again, look, you have a lot of obstacles in your way for a short, right? I have to put it on here, though. If you break this and hold it, you got a big demand zone here. But if you hold it, you'd have to work through this big demand zone here. Maybe you go down to 59.34 and tap that the month-to-date VWAP. Like I said, this has a lot of roadblocks. It's possible, but got a lot of roadblocks. Okay, a lot of roadblocks. All right, moving on to the NASDAQ. Alrighty, let's check this out. All right, here's our NASDAQ. Now, our NASDAQ also has a new trader price of the week. That level is 208.44. 208.44, which is right here. Most traded price of the month is 212 up here. So we're not in ultimate balance in the Qs. Like we kind of sort of are in the ES, okay? We are in a supply zone right now. Right here. Price is right here. Okay. Now, did I mention this before? Now, look. I said the Qs are at the mid. Let me just go back to the ES and make sure we're not at the mid. See, we're not at the midpoint of yesterday's session right here in the ES, right? You're in a better position. The Qs are at the midpoint of yesterday's session. There's the midpoint right there. Price is right here. That's not a great location. Okay? That's just not a great location. All right. Let's look at the profile. Look at this balanced profile. Very beautiful. Okay, that is a perfect balanced profile. Excess to the bottom, excess to the top. Okay, so it's pretty balanced, right? ES is not like that. So let's look at some levels. Okay, let's look at some levels. Now we do have a weak high here. All right, so we have some single prints. But look at this right here, this level right here. Value area high of yesterday. That's, remember, value area. So this is the value, is green, is value area of yesterday. That means 70% of the trading happened in that area. Okay, 70%. That's a lot. Okay, the outside of that is just not a lot of people trading at those areas. Okay, so that's why it's important. Now, what is it lining up with? The overnight highs right here. So this gets broken, this could cause a move up. Okay, if it doesn't, what does that mean? It's the opposite, right? Sellers are going to be strong. Okay, that's a level to look at. That level is 209.57 to 209.41. That's a weak high. That's a confluence high. Okay, now to the bottom here, look what we got bought up here at the month to day VWAP, 207.66. Overnight lows went right there, right here. So it held the month to date VWAP. Okay, so this chart, I'm being honest with you, I don't like it as much as the ES. It's actually it's relatively weaker as well. Okay, so we have a weak high. All right, now like I said, we're in the middle of the session, so I don't really like that. It needs to move somewhere. Now, where would I like it to move? We got a demand zone here. Now, look at this level right here. 209.07 is last week's highs. I'd like to hold that. Last week's highs happens to be the most traded price of yesterday. Okay, so we're getting some more color here and more levels to work with. Now, this is a big supply zone, but there's an asterisk with this because this supply zone contains single prints, which is thin volume. Now, in a big, strong market, that gets blown apart because there's not much resistance there. But if there is, that is bearish. Okay, so let's get right into scenarios. And like I said, I'm not a fan of the NASDAQ chart right now. Don't get me wrong, can you work with it? You can. But as far as like, woo, this is a beautiful setup or whatever, like this is okay. Okay, so let's get into it. Start off the bull case. Remember, we got our weak high here, right here. Okay. Now, what I would like to see, okay, is a push up a little bit, then maybe a little rejection. And then if we come back and look, you test last week's highs and you have a demand and you have yesterday's most traded price. Like I said, it could even dip into this demand. And you did one of these. Yep, I think we can clean those single prints. Go up to yesterday's highs. Maybe there's another demand. There's a lot of stacked supply above, a lot of overhead supply. Maybe we go up to the most traded price of the month. Right? 212. That would be a pretty nice setup. Okay? That would be a pretty nice setup. Now, because we're in balance, kind of. No, not kind of. We are in the Nasdaq. Um, this area here becomes, you got demand month to date VWAP here. It's really the last line of defense. You got a little mini balance session right here. So I would say if you broke through the most traded price of the week, this would be your last line, right? Because you have all this area here. And I would say, let's call it like 207 is your last line. You want that to get defended and bought up and to push up here. Now, like I said, I'm real iffy about this level. I'm not like, oh my God, get this bought up. So I'd have to see how the internals are. But that's really it for the bull. I'm hoping to get this trade, right? All right, moving on to the bear. Remember, we're in balance in the Nasdaq, so it's a little different. We're in supply. Okay, so just the inverse of what I said. Remember, I like this area for buyers. Now, guess what this all encompasses? Most traded price of the week too, right? So if the market opens up, pushes up, and finds resistance in these single prints, right? And then, lower highs, you're going to test this area, right? That might be time to take some profit. And then if we go through the most traded price of the week, 59.80, no, that's not 59.82, I'm sorry, 208.40, and hold under, yeah, you're probably going to test this area, like I said, the 207 area. And then if you break this, now if you break month to date VWAP, remember, that's the average buyer of the whole month. That's pretty important. Now, see, the market's holding that lately. You break that, they feel pain. The average buyer's underwater. We probably test 206.50. All right, you lose that. Wow, you go to the bottom of this balance area. Like I said, I don't know if that happens, but I have to put it as a scenario. Okay. Now, one other thing that could happen, we could open up, push up, break yesterday's highs. There's a big supply zone here. Okay, and you could roll back over into balance. Okay, that's all I'm looking at, folks. I think that's going to do it today. All right, hope everybody enjoyed that. If you did enjoy it, please smash the like button. That would mean a lot to me. Okay, please smash the like button. All right, so we got our plan. All right, we got our plan. Not the prettiest of charts today. Um, the actual volume today is actually pretty decent. This might be the last day because yes, tomorrow is the day before Thanksgiving. I should die after the morning, and I don't even the volume should not be great tomorrow. But who knows? Okay, remember FOMC at 2 p.m. Alrighty. So remember to subscribe. I'm at 199. Come on, if you're new, just subscribe. I'll set an alert. Make me go to 200. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. All right. All right. So everybody, have a great day. Be patient. Stay green. And I'll see everybody tomorrow.